Several 100,000 Palestinians flee northern Gaza as Israeli airstrikes continue. And while those air raids go on, there are efforts to bring remaining hostages to safety.
Plus, ghouls and goblins aren't the only scary thing this Halloween. The details on bone-chilling temperatures coming up as Mountain News First at 4 continues.
Mountain News First at 4 continues.
We could see our first hard freeze this Halloween night in the mountains. Let's check in with meteorologist Cameron Aaron with your first alert weather forecast.
Yes, Steve, we are cool this afternoon, but some even cooler weather is on the way as we go into tonight. We do have a freeze warning in place for most of the mountains. That does not include Lawrence County or Wayne County, West Virginia, but for most of us, a freeze warning is in place from 11 o'clock tonight through 10 a.m. on Wednesday, as we could see lows back in the middle 20s as you wake up on Wednesday. Temperatures right now, though, are below average in the upper 40s and lower 50s, up to 49 for Jackson, 50 for London, also Manchester, and 47 over in Pikeville at this hour. So the upper 40s and lower 50s, that is one of the coolest Halloweens on record. Not the coolest, that was back in 1993. But again, one of the top 5 coolest Halloweens on record this year, as we do see temperatures back in the upper 40s and lower 50s. On the radar right now, we are dry, also clearing out from west to east, and that trend will continue as we go into this evening. But notice as we zoom out, we are tracking an upper level low close to Chicago, producing some snow flurries and snow showers in Illinois, also Indiana. Possibly a snow flurry north of I-64, but for most of us, we are cold and dry as we go into tonight. Now coming up, Steve, we'll talk about that trick-or-treat forecast, and also some 60s on the way by Friday, also into this weekend. Steve?
Yeah, I don't like seeing blue on the radar already. Thank you very much, Cameron. Israeli troops are battling Hamas militants and attacking underground compounds with a focus on northern Gaza. An estimated 800,000 Palestinians have fled south, even though Israeli airstrikes have pounded the entire region. CBS's Ian Lee has more about efforts to bring hostages home.
While Israel fights for every inch in Gaza, the fate of the hostages remains in question. The IDF is hoping for more homecomings like this one. Soldier Ori Megadish was freed in an overnight raid Monday.
The ground action actually creates the possibility, not the certainty, but the possibility of getting our hostages out.
But families fear that pressure could kill their loved ones.
We are afraid for our hostages, our family.
Hamas is still holding 240 people. 3 women recently pleaded for their freedom in a Hamas propaganda video.
Israel did not protect its citizens along the border with Gaza, and it has a moral responsibility to bring them back.
Gershon Baskin negotiated with Hamas to free Israeli soldier Gilad Shalit in 2011. He's still in touch with some of the militants.
When you look at Hamas now versus the Hamas you negotiated with, do you see the same organization?
No. What they did on October 7th, on Black Saturday, in crossing the line, they became a terrorist organization.
So far, Hamas has given up 4 hostages, including 2 Americans and 2 Israeli civilians. Baskin agrees that the current fighting could pressure Hamas to release more.
I think that the limited military incursion that we're seeing now is part of the negotiation.
What incentive does Hamas have to release hostages?
Hamas has very little incentives to release hostages now. They are not yet absorbing the reality that Israel is presenting to them, that they will not exist.
But families of the hostages hope that small incentive is just enough to bring their loved ones home. Ian Lee, CBS News, Jerusalem.
Hamas claims 50 hostages have been killed in Gaza by Israeli airstrikes, a claim that cannot be verified. Protesters repeatedly interrupted a hearing on Capitol Hill today and stopped the opening statements of Secretary of State Antony Blinken. At the start of the hearing, demonstrators remained silent but could be seen in the gallery with red hands and calling for a ceasefire in the war between Israel and Hamas. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has pushed back against global demonstrations.
That increasingly Russia and Iran are working together to challenge our leadership, to hem us in globally, to pose a growing threat to our own security as well as to that of our allies and partners. They've been partners in a devastating war in Syria, and now we have Iranian proxies firing missiles from Syria in northern Israel.
Prime Minister Netanyahu has rejected calls for a ceasefire and vowed to crush Hamas's ability to govern Gaza or threaten Israel after its bloody October 7th rampage. Coming up on First at 4, the University of Pikeville puts its humanities program front and center this Halloween.
And pack the jacket if you have those trick-or-treat plans this evening. Your Halloween forecast after this break.